Hi, my name is Judy. Welcome to Go with Yin Yoga. Today I have approximately a 40-minute Yin Yoga practice. One of the poses I am picking out because in September 2022, actually, let me just put that aside. Let me tell you what props you need, get you set up, and then I'll talk more about that. Okay. To do this practice, you really don't need any props, but you might like to have a couple of blocks. You might like to have a couple of blankets. So go ahead, pause the video, grab your props, and meet me back on your mat. Okay, now that you are prepared, we're going to start off with a breathwork pattern called bumblebee breath. You will inhale through your nose. You'll exhale through your nose while making a humming sound. So it'll sound something like And underneath, I will link up in the description a little tutorial where I go a little deeper into this breath and also share some other variations you can try out if you wish. But for now, I'd like you to come to an easy seat. Let your forehead relax. Let your shoulders melt away from your ears. And jaw softens, neck expands. Feel the safety and the stability of your seat. And feel your spine growing really long from that seat all the way up to the crown of your head. If it's comfortable for you, go ahead and close your eyes and begin the bumblebee breath. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your nose, and make that humming sound. And keep going on just like that while I explain a bit more about our practice today. So on a physical level, we will definitely be getting into your hips, definitely into your hips. On a more subtle level, we're thinking about deers. And when you think about a deer, what comes up for you? Now, not so much the male deers, but the female deers. And maybe that's gentleness, and it's mindfulness, and loving kindness. And so I want you to think about these things as we practice today, especially loving your body. And the meridian we are going to be targeting with today's practice is the Gall Bladder Meridian. And by targeting this meridian, you can move the energy in your body, and you can help decrease frustration and anger, which are all things that we feel very much in the summer, in the Pitta season, as it's called. And so it's something that most of us can use if you live in the Northern Hemisphere right now. Okay, if you are sitting up on something, come off. Although actually, I will suggest that you may want to still sit up on something. At the very least, sit up on a folded blanket on the edge, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And take your right knee, and bring your right ankle towards your hips, and then take your left knee and bring it on top of that right knee, and bring your left heel towards your hips. Now your feet may be much further out. You may have a lot of space right here, in which case I would suggest a block or a towel or blanket to make that more comfortable so that you can relax. This is shoelace pose. The affirmation that I'm offering for this practice is, my best is enough. You maybe close your eyes. Maybe go inside that body and relax the shoulders. And target area is right around here. So hopefully you feel some sensation in your hips, maybe in your glutes. And the deeper, the closer you bring your heels to your hips, the more sensation you will most likely feel, the deeper you will get into your hips. Which is not to say that that is the intention of this pose. The intention, as always, is to find your edge. So come to that first edge where you feel some sensation and just stay there for a while. And as you feel your body settle into the pose, perhaps you come to a second edge. And let your breath be your guide. When your breath is long and deep, then you are settling into the pose. When it's short and shallow, you've probably gone over your edge. And if you'd like to feel even more sensation, you can always walk your hands out in front of you. I'm not doing that today, but that is another option that is open to you. Last few breaths here. And last breath there. And slowly begin to take your left foot to your mat, and then your right foot. Take your hips out, a little bit more than hip width, and begin to let them fall from side to side. Getting a little energy back into those hips. And before we go to the second side. All right. So this time, take your left leg underneath you. Left foot comes towards the right hip, and the right knee comes on top of the left knee. And your right foot comes towards the left hip. Shoelace pose. My best is enough. Our best is always changing, day to day, month to month, year to year. And we can show ourselves compassion and loving kindness, Ahimsa, by honoring what our best is in this moment, right here, right now. Notice if you're tensing your legs or your hips or your glutes, if any of those things are going on. See if you can soften, even just a little bit. Be mindful of what's going on inside your body, honoring what is best for you today. And the last few breaths. And last breath. And go ahead and take your feet to the mat, a little bit wider than hip width, and let your knees fall to one side, back to center, fall to the other side, moving slowly and mindfully. And letting that go. I'm coming off of my blanket for our next pose, which is deer pose. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get into it. And bring your left shin parallel to the edge of your mat, front edge of your mat. And then your right thigh is also parallel to the edge of your mat, the front edge of your mat. Your right knee is bent, right knee is in line with the right ankle. And this is deer pose. This brings both internal and external rotation into our hips. Now, for a lot of people, this may be a very uncomfortable pose, in which case I would suggest a couple of blankets perhaps, unless if there's some space here, you can take a blanket or a towel underneath. If there's a lot of space there, you might want to take a block underneath, just to let your limbs soften into the pose rather than holding on to our muscles, which is not what we want in Yin Yoga. We're not trying to contract our muscles at all. In fact, we're trying to relax them as much as possible. My best is enough. So I challenge you in deer pose to practice that loving kindness, that compassion, that ahimsa, to be gentle with your body, to be very mindful of where your edge is and not go past it. To come to a first edge, relax into that, and perhaps go deeper afterwards. And to show yourself by love by realizing that for today, this is your best. And the last few breaths here. The last breath. And go ahead and begin to straighten out that back leg, your right leg, and bring that forward. And then bring your left foot forward. Bend your right knee and bring the shin of your right foot to parallel the top of your mat. Bend your left knee and align your left knee over your left ankle. And your left thigh is also paralleling the top of your mat. Deer pose. Lovingness, gentleness with your body, with your life, with others. My best is enough. It's really kind of funny that this particular week when I'm filming this video, I've seen deer 3 different times this week in three different places. And all of them are places that I don't normally see deer. So it's just kind of interesting, a little bit of life synchronicity. And the last few breaths here. And the last breath here. Go ahead and begin to bring that left leg forward. And in fact, begin to face the short end of your mat. And if you have a blanket, go ahead and grab that now. I'm going to move my blocks off a little bit. And then take your hands behind you, slowly lowering onto your elbows. Coming down onto your back. Inhale, lift your hips up and over to the right side of your mat. Your right leg and bring it over the left. And then begin to let both knees fall over towards the left. Now, if this feels like too much for you, you can also just have your knees one on top of the other. And if there's space between your knees, you can go ahead and grab that blanket and just put it between your knees. And I'm going to go ahead and take the variation. That's called twisted roots. Hands can be out towards the side or down by the hips. Head can face up. It can also face over, away from your knees. Wherever feels right in your body. And you can also take a block, which I've put aside so I can't take a block. But I can take a blanket and I can roll it a little bit and I can put it underneath my bottom knee and give it something to relax into. Because when we're up in space, our muscles like to contract to hold our limb in place. And of course, we don't want that in Yin Yoga. So anytime we have some space, we usually want to fill it with something so that our muscles can relax. And the last few breaths here. And the last breath. And slowly begin to unwind your legs if you have one over the other. Bringing your knees to point up towards the sky or the ceiling. Begin to walk your feet to the middle of your mat. Let your spine be long for a moment. And then go ahead and inhale, push into your feet. Bring your hips over towards the left and second side. Hopefully this feels very relaxing to you. And then again, it may feel really challenging to you. If your hips are very tight, it could feel extremely challenging. But generally the things we don't like to do, the things we avoid, are the things our body really needs. So I'm going to challenge you, just give it a try. And last few breaths here. Last breath. And slowly begin to unwind those knees, taking both feet back to the mat. Moving yourself back into the center of the mat. Bring one knee into the chest, then the other. And just begin to make little circles. Pretend that you have a paintbrush between your legs and you are trying to paint circles on the ceiling or in the sky. And then switch directions. And then let that go. Bring your feet back to the mat. Stretch one foot out. Let the foot fall open. And the other. That foot fall open. Take your hands down by your hips. They can also be up over your head if you prefer. Pentacle. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Let them be unfocused. If not, relax your forehead. Slightly tuck your chin. Let your shoulders melt into the mat. Relax your elbows, your wrists, the palm of your hand, the back of your hand. Relax your hips, your knees, your ankles, soles of your feet, and the top of your feet. And just let the whole body relax until you hear my voice again. Begin to allow your breath to deepen. Keeping your eyes closed. They are. Take any little movements you need to begin to wake up your body. Maybe moving your head up and down and side to side. Perhaps wiggling toes and fingers. Maybe circling wrists and ankles. And on your next inhale, go ahead and stretch your arms up overhead, reaching behind you. And as you exhale and bring your hands back down, take one knee and bring it into your chest. And then the other. Give yourself a little hug. Gently let your knees fall over to one side, stretching your bottom arm along the mat and cradling your head on that bottom arm. Take a few deep breaths here. And slowly begin to walk your body upright, coming back into a comfortable seated position. Inhale, the palms of your hands come to meet in front of your heart and begin to rub them back and forth. Creating some heat, thanking yourself for the tapas, the discipline that brought you to your mat today, and then letting your palms come to stillness in front of your heart in prayer position, bowing your head over your hands, and slowly blinking your eyes open, taking in your mat and the rest of the floor, and slowly raising your head, taking in the rest of the room or the outdoors if you're practicing outdoors. giving yourself so much gratitude for coming to your mat today, as I give you gratitude for choosing me to practice with. I'm so very grateful in each and every one of you, and I definitely wish you loving kindness, gentleness with your body, mindfulness with your body. If you enjoyed this practice, go ahead and click the like button. You can also subscribe to the newsletter. It's in the description box below. Or hit the subscribe button. And may you have a joyous, peaceful day where you feel kindness for yourself and for all living beings.